We've already discussed the fact that there are multiple networking components that we need to create in our Azure subscription. We've created subnets, we've created virtual networks, network interfaces that are attached to virtual machines. But now, in order to make a lot of these resources accessible to our on-premises user or users all over the internet that want to access our resources in Azure, a popular method of extending an on-premises network to Azure, to the cloud, is by creating a VPN or virtual private network. We've talked about the fact that there are essentially two types of virtual private networks, point-to-site and site-to-site, on top of the express route type connection. The site-to-site VPN is what we're going to focus on right now because it is really the most common type of VPN. Now, in order to create a site-to-site VPN, you essentially need to create two primary resources in Azure. You need to create a virtual network gateway and a local network gateway. So let's start with the virtual network gateway. The virtual network gateway is essentially the virtual device that will sit in your Azure subscription and that will provide that access into Azure. So I'm going to go ahead and start the creation process of a virtual network gateway. In order to create the virtual network gateway, of course, we need to give it a name, and then we need to specify whether it's going to be for a VPN or an express route. That's right, you also need to create a virtual network gateway if you plan to create an express route. As well, we need to define whether it's route-based or policy-based. Most of the time, you will be selecting a route-based VPN and then specifying the SKU of this VPN device or virtual device. You'll notice that there's an explanation here of the various types of SKUs, and the main difference between the SKUs are their functionalities and their cost. I choose the basic SKU. As well, note that based on the SKU that you select, some of the different options in the interface may change. Now, I'm going to select basic SKU and then choose a virtual network that defines the virtual network to which this gateway is connected. So we need to ensure that the virtual network gateway is connected to a virtual network, therefore allowing all of these devices into our network. So I'm going to select the virtual network that I created in a previous video in this course. And then I'm going to go down my list. Right away, it retrieved the subnet IP address range from my virtual network and populated that. It's prompting me as well for an IP address because this virtual network will provide access from the internet. It needs to have a valid IP address on the internet. So the public IP address, I don't have any in my infrastructure right now, so I'm going to create a new one, and I'm going to have to give it a name, public VPN IP. And I can also select the SKU for the public IP address. As well, here there's an option for BGP, the type of router. Note that I can currently not select the BGP because I have a basic SKU and the basic SKU doesn't support BGP. As well, here I have my location. Now, the location is actually very important when we're talking about the virtual network gateway because it must be the same location as the virtual network that I selected. So the virtual network and the virtual network gateway must be in the same region, the same location. Once I'm done, I'm going to click on Create, and it's going to create my virtual network gateway. Now, I'm not actually going to finalize this process because it can take quite some time, 15 to 20 minutes, to create a virtual network gateway to provision all of those resources in Azure. They really do take quite a bit of time. But I want to move on now to the second object that I need to create, which is the local network gateway. Now, the local network gateway is essentially the other side of the equation. The virtual network gateway is your entry point into Azure. The local network gateway is the exit point from the on-premises network. Well, you're going to tell me, how am I going to create that exit point from Azure itself? Well, actually, you need to create a representation for the gateway device that exists on premises. So on premises, you have a gateway device. You need to provide the information of that gateway device by creating a local network gateway resource in Azure. So you would provide the name of that resource, the actual IP address. So that is the IP address of that device. And it's the IP address that has to be provided to you by the network administrator of the infrastructure. As well, here you have BGP settings, again, for routing. And we specify the resource group as well as the location. Now here you don't have this limitation of the location. The local network gateway and the virtual network gateway do not need to be in the same region, the same location. But typically you put it in the same one so that you can manage it and see them in a more easy fashion when you're looking through your objects. Now, once I've created my virtual network gateway and my local network gateway, I will be able to create that link between the two and therefore create a site-to-site VPN. There's another course in the LinkedIn library that deals specifically with Azure virtual networking. I suggest that you follow this course and dive more into detail into VPN.